Social media fried my brain so much that sometimes I close an app to open Instagram, but the app that I just closed was Instagram. Some days I literally feel my attention span dissolving into sand. But one way that I've started to claw my attention span back is by reading more and creating a reading method that works for me. I used to read books all the time as a child, but then I got older and suddenly I'm not reading for fun anymore. 3 paragraphs is making me sweat and like green eggs and ham, I'll spark notes it, okay? Actually though, a joke that I used to say in college after people asked what my major was is that I would say I'm an English major, but I don't like to read books that much, because at the time it was true. During college, I wasn't reading for fun at all. I only read for class, and after I graduated and I wanted to read for fun again, I was so behind on like popular literature that I didn't even know what genres that I liked anymore. Over the summer of 2024, I picked up a copy of Gone Girl for $2 at a thrift store, and I struggled to get through it for 3 months. I loved the book, but my brain had been so fried from college and from short form content that I couldn't sit down to read more than like 20 pages at a time. I knew that I wanted to read more books, but I didn't know how, and I actually like felt like a failure because I couldn't get through a book for fun. But then I finally sat down for one afternoon and I told myself I couldn't get up until I finished Gone Girl, and I finished it. I finished it, and suddenly everything changed. The accomplishment of getting through my first book for fun in like years completely changed my mentality. I loved it, by the way. Amy didn't do anything wrong. Not only did I love the book, I also appreciated that it was the first book to get me out of my reading slump and to teach me that I could finish a whole book for fun again. And it allowed me to get back into reading and inspired me to be more intentional with how I read. I changed my reading habits by developing a method that works for me, and I like to think of it as the 4-book method. This is what personally works for me. It's not scientifically backed or anything, it's just what works to keep me reading and keep me off my phone. So I started by taking note of the main ways that I used my phone and when I went to go pick it up and what feeling I was trying to get from that action, and then I tried to substitute that with books. Does that make sense? I'll explain. So within the 4-book method, the first book is the fun book. So this is the genre trash, this is the paper thin plot, trope heavy, TikTok, book talk, catnip, whatever you find to be the most fun and easy to read. And this could be the gay fantasy lacrosse mafia book, or it might be Ulysses. Like, the choice is up to you, but this is the TikTok or Instagram equivalent. This is what you go on when you have a free moment and when you want to unwind at the end of the night and relax. This is what brings you joy, but also what you can get into and out of quickly. Replacing social media apps that serve you a bunch of exciting quick videos with a longer, drawn-out, enjoyable experience will slow down your brain and give it a chance to focus on just one thing at the end of the night, rather than a million ideas or ways that you could like be doing something better or improving your life. Book number 2 is The Mentor. So this book teaches you something. More people than ever are going to social media for learning things and for education, and no shade, I've done that too. Whether it's recipes or hairstyles or obscure history or even world politics, it can all be found on your social media feed. However, if you've ever finished watching a video and realized that you didn't care about the topic at all, but you just watched it because it was the first thing in front of you, like, I've been there. And how many times do you remember something that you're like, oh, I really wish I knew more about that, or I wish I had learned this, but you tell yourself that you'll like look at it later? This book is the antidote to that. The teaching book is that, and it can be about whatever subject you've been dying to learn about but never got around to. So my teaching book right now is about the Lizzie Borden murder trials, which is something that I've always been interested in, but I didn't really know all the details about until I actually sat down to read about it. Because social media is great for giving us quick facts and overviews, but if you really want to learn about something in depth, you have to spend time with it. There's no shortcut to knowing the details. This book also helps me with the constant need to check my news app, because I still feel like I'm bettering myself and keeping myself informed by learning something, but I'm not giving into doom scrolling. And it doesn't have to be nonfiction. I've actually had a lot of fun reading classics recently and learning, finally understanding them as full works and not just references in other media. So that's helped me look away from my phone and appreciate taking the time to learn something because I want to learn it and not because an algorithm served it to me. So book 3 is the gym book. And this is the podcast, guys. This is the podcast, the long form video, the long YouTube video that you put on to clean the house or like go on a run or something. But you start listening to like one episode and then you find something else interesting and suddenly it's been 2 hours and you've only watched the video and you haven't cleaned any dishes. To avoid that, I recommend having an audiobook on rotation to be your go-to choice when you have a boring task, because this makes the choice for you and it cuts down on your decision time, so you don't have to spend all that time finding the perfect podcast episode because you already have a choice lined up. I know audiobooks aren't for everyone. I understand that. They can be frustrating to listen to. It can be frustrating when the characters don't sound like you think they should, if the narrator's just not hitting. For this, I recommend autobiographies narrated by the actual authors, because the writer and the narrator are the same person. They know the book, they know it extremely well, they know what parts should be emphasized, and when you have someone telling you their story like that, it's pretty similar to a podcast anyway. It's just one person though, so it's more like a friend, like catching you up on a period of their life or something that happened to them. And I really enjoy listening to autobiographies this way because I can hear the emotion of the writer straight from the source. I can hear it as they intended it. It's a very cool experience and it really scratches my podcast itch when I'm cleaning or doing something that's pretty boring. Okay, so I need to be honest, and maybe I've been lying a little bit because actually I do use ebooks. I know, but hold on. Put your pitchforks down. I said I would help you stop scrolling, maybe not stop using your phone entirely. As long as you're staying off the apps that you find yourself spending hours on unintentionally, I think it's okay. Basically, I use the Libby app. This is a fantastic resource. It is probably something that you already have access to if you have a library card. It is an app that helps you get ebooks from your library. It gets them into your hands whenever you want, and if you have a library card, you can sign up today, you can sign up right now. You get access to all of your library's ebooks, and if they're part of a collective, they share ebooks with a bunch of other libraries as well, so there's probably a ton of options for you on there. Even magazines, I really like looking at Vogue on Libby because the pictures are really pretty. They also have audiobooks as well, so you can use that for book number 3. There are waiting lines for some books, however, I personally like getting like a surprise notification when I put a book on hold like 3 months ago and now it's ready for me. I don't know, it's fun, it keeps me surprised. I usually forget, but then it's like a nice little reminder. And as long as you're using the 4-book method, you will have other books that you can read at any time. So as long as your other categories are full, then you won't have to wait on one specific book ever. You can just switch over to a different category. Okay, so finally, book 4. And this goes against everything I just said, and it's an old-fashioned book. Yes, this is a physical book. That's it. That's the only rule. This is for when you really need to step away, not touch your phone at all, and disconnect from it. This is the thing that should be your escape plan, your exit strategy, and your brain defogging machine. The thing is, we are all spending too much time on our phones, and everyone knows it. That's why doom scrolling is such a popular term right now, because everyone knows the feeling of looking up and realizing that you've been scrolling for hours just to avoid feeling something. And I'm not saying that this is a solution to this, but it will take you away from the little monster in your pocket that's ruining all of our eyesights. And it can be whatever you want. It just has to be something to bring you back to the real world, something to bring your attention to where you are and the things you can touch and feel and change. So these 4 books help me organize my reading and help me keep from wasting my time on social media, which I do a lot, and it helps me from spending hours on social media comparing myself to others. I have done that like way too much and I'm really sick of it. I usually cycle through the 4 books based on my mood or what I'm up to, and I'll go through them at different speeds. I will usually go through the fun book much faster than I will go through the teaching book, but when I finish one, I can switch to a different category if I'm waiting for my hold on Libby to arrive, or I can just grab another one from Libby that doesn't have a hold line, or grab a book that's already on my shelf that I haven't read yet. And this is just what works for me. It could look different for you. You could have different categories, you could have different amounts of books in your rotation. I think keeping it relatively small will help you in terms of progress and in terms of keeping track of what you're reading rather than getting into that. I'm going to read a million different things and having that list that causes you more stress. I think just focus on a few at a time. Whatever works for you is going to be the best method, and this is what works for me. It has helped me not get so stressed about what to read next. It's just the system that has worked out for me. But do you need less than 3? You're saying my legal name? I don't have a library card. Well, let me tell you, you can probably get one really quickly if you stop by your local library, and some libraries even allow you to register for a library card online. But if you really can't get to your local library and you can't do one online, then I want to tell you about the Queer Liberation Library. This is an online library collective that collects LGBTQ literature of various genres and also non-LGBTQ literature. It actually just has a lot of books, and it's free to register for online. You can sign up and get a card today, and this is meant to be a resource and an archive, so it's free for all. And 2 other places that I would check for books if for some reason you can't get to your library or Libby just isn't working out for you is the Internet Archive for more obscure books or older books, and Apple Books for classics, because public domain books are free to read and they're in a lot of places, but Apple Books has them integrated into the Books app, so you can read them like every other ebook. Also, if you do find something in the public domain and download it as a PDF, if you have a Mac, it will show up in your Books app on your phone as well, and you can read it like any other ebook. So yeah, hope to see all of you at book club next week, and I hope this helps. Let me know if you implement methods to read more intentionally or if you don't, and I hope this keeps you off your phone for a little bit. And yeah, thanks for watching. An addendum on struggling to read. You need to start like easy. If you've been in a slump for a long time and you feel like a failure, you have to start easy and just remind yourself that you can finish a book. You are like a kid or like a student of a new language. You have to start so simple, bright colors, interesting plot, anything that you know you can accomplish, because you need to remind yourself that you can, because you can. Whatever will get you over the hurdle of realizing that you can start something and finish it, that's the book that you want to start with. So this can be a fan fiction, this can be a screenplay. Sometimes I read screenplays of movies that I really like after watching the movie, because I want to basically experience the movie again, but I don't want to watch the movie again. I just want to experience more of the movie, so I'll read the screenplay. or audiobooks. Audiobooks can be useful to remind you that you can sit still for an entire story, or even long form essay. Anything that you can complete and get that feeling of, yes, I can do this. And whatever it is, you just have to start. And I know that's advice that you hear a lot, but it's also true. You just have to start. We can work our way up to Ulysses. I promise we can get there. Everyone can get there. But until then, it has to be something to show yourself that you can accomplish things that you've avoided. The image I shared at the beginning comes from Ismatu Gwendolyn's amazing essay, "You've Been Traumatized into Hating Reading and It Makes You Easier to Oppress," which I've linked below, and I wanted to share a quote from it. Short-term video specifically captures the audience by what they feel, not necessarily what they wish to know. And I think that's what I mentioned with like book 2, a book that teaches you something. In order to learn something, you have to spend time on it. And I know that's frustrating because you already want to know about it, but if you love something, you should want to spend time with it regardless. Don't think of it as a hurdle that you have to get over in order to love something. The act of reading and spending time with it is the loving and is the doing. That's how I've reframed looking at nonfiction books or books on subjects that I really wanted to know about, but I was intimidated by all the stuff that I don't know. I linked the essay below. It's a really great read. I highly recommend it.